We thought it would be twice as nice. Tom Jones going to rejoin me again here from the Poynter Institute, longtime columnist of the Tampa Bay Times, my former radio partner. Going to kick it again on this podcast because you people are the ones that have demanded it. You've asked for it, and now you're going to get it. Tom Jones here in just a minute. Meanwhile, the Bucs resume practice today at One Buck Place in preparation for their game on Sunday. It's going to be a big one against the New England Patriots coming off their bye week. Patriots lead their division and, in fact, just beat the Atlanta Falcons last Sunday. And so this is a very physical team coached by Mike Vrabel. The culture is great. Great quarterback in Drake May. This will not be an easy game, kind of a gauntlet, the first of three games that are going to be really difficult. Patriots at home, then at Buffalo, and at the LA Rams. We're going to find out a lot about the Bucs and hopefully their injuries and which players may be coming back. Luke Gedeke is going to begin his 21-day practice window. He potentially could play on Sunday. We'll find out about Bucky Irving today, Chris Godwin, a number of guys that have been out, Hassan Reddick, and others have a better idea as to, if any of those guys, which ones might be able to practice and perhaps play on Sunday. Hey, I want to remind you guys, get on down to Breitling Boutique International Plaza Mall. That's where you're going to find the beautiful watches there, the best Swiss watch you have ever owned. The Breitling Company has been in business for over 140 years. They've been in International Plaza for more than 5 years now. Second floor, center of the mall. That's where you're going to find the Breitling Boutique and customer service like you have never experienced before. Go in there, spend some time, right? Pour you a drink. You're going to find out about their beautiful watches for the men. They have the Chronomat watches, the Navitimers, and ladies' watches as well for your wife, your girlfriend. These are sports watches. They're very durable. If your wife or girlfriend's on the go like mine, these things are going to hold up. They're beautiful, and she gets to choose from just an array of different colored wristbands. And while supplies last, they are celebrating the NFL's 104th year anniversary with 32 different team watches. These are all 32 NFL teams, including the Buccaneers. You can go to our website, TampaBay.com. See a picture of the Buccaneers team watch. They have the team colors on the face of the watch. These are Chronomat watches with the logos. You have to see them. It's a timepiece that you will want and keep and cherish forever. It is Breitling Boutique, International Plaza Mall. And when you go, please let them know that you heard about it right here on Sports Day Tampa Bay. Back to back and better than ever. Rick Stroud with Tom Jones. Longtime columnist at the Tampa Bay Times, now with Poynter.org. What's up, buddy?
Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, man. Felt like you never left, but it's always great to have you. And we try to milk this for as much as we can because, frankly, that's what the people demand.
I love coming on. I
can't tell you how many times when we do a show or do a podcast together, people are like, can we please have more Tom Jones? Can we please? Yes. The answer is yes, as much as he wants to do it. And God knows he's a busy man. Back from Pittsburgh, you have weddings, you got the big podcast of your own going on, like all that stuff. So we're glad to have you. I was wondering because I thought about sort of, all the World Series that I've watched through the years. I got to tell you, man, this was one of the most entertaining, stressful, competitive, unpredictable, incredible plays. Like this Toronto Dodgers series, and there's a lot wrong with baseball, and maybe those two teams with the amount of payroll they have is part of it. But man, you had to feel a little bit for the Blue Jays fan base because
oh my gosh,
they had not one but two games. If they win either game at home, they had chances to win both. And that last game, just gut wrenching plays and near misses that would have won them a ring and they would have walked forever as champions. And instead, the Dodgers go back-to-back. And that's something that hasn't happened in, 20, 25 years or something.
I'm trying to think of like more brutal losses. I mean, congratulations to the Dodgers. Everybody's giving them their flowers. Okay, fine. But yeah. I feel for the Blue Jays. I was rooting for Toronto just because it was more anti-Dodgers. Like
yeah,
you shouldn't have that many good players on one team. It's just you can't have
Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman $500 million, right? I mean,
exactly right. Yeah. They spent like $100. I know Toronto was like a top 5 or 6 team or whatever in terms.
Yeah,
of
they
payroll.
were top 5. Yeah,
but it was like the Dodgers still spent like almost $100 million more than the Blue Jays did. But I'm trying to think, Rick, of a more gut wrenching. Like like in Tampa Bay sports history, have we ever had a loss that was I'm certainly nowhere like that in a championship, But I'm trying to think, like,
to
what's the
match
most
not in a championship game. I mean, I think like if you're a Buffalo Bills fan back in the day, right?
right,
The first of the 4 Super Bowl loss, Scott Norwood in
right?
Tampa,
Yep.
like that, and if you knew what that was going to lead to, which was 3 more losses in a row in the Super Bowl. I mean, for that fan base, you can't suffer more than that, can you? To
No,
have such a great team that they get back every year and they just can't get over the hump.
no, that was to me that the Scott Norwood game. Now there were a couple of those Super Bowls. I don't know what's worse. They played some Super Bowls after that where they weren't even really competitive.
Oh, they got blown out in the
They were
Rose Bowl.
getting crushed,
Yeah.
right? But
Dallas
that
crushed
one
them. Yeah.
really hurt. Um, I'm trying to think. Like for me, growing up in Pittsburgh and following the Pirates for a long time, there was a gut wrenching loss in '92. The Sid, it was the Francisco
Sid Bream?
Cabrera gets the hit. Sid Bream scores from second base. The Pirates were up 2-0 going to the bottom of the ninth in Atlanta, and Atlanta scored 3 runs, including 2 on the final hit by Francisco
Yeah.
Cabrera. And Barry Bonds comes up, throws it home. And the thing that was so gut wrenching, it's like just so devastating, is you knew that was the end of their run. They had won the division 3 years in a row, didn't win. They lost in the NLCS all 3 years, including that one. And you knew that was it. Barry Bonds was leaving right after that game. Like that was his last game in a Pirates uniform. And you knew the team was going to break up, and they were never the same. And they haven't been anywhere close since then. In fact, they haven't won a World Series since '79. So that was a pretty brutal loss. The other loss, and I remember, Rick, and this is a little bit different. It's hard to feel sorry for Yankees fans ever because they win all the time, and they were the last team to not only repeat but three-peat. But 2001, coming off of 9/11, and the city was just just devastated by what happened at the Twin Towers and all. And then in that series, they played Arizona and they lost that series in gut wrenching fashion in the bottom of the ninth with Mariano Rivera on the mound. And so, but again, it's like, it's hard to feel bad for Yankees fans, but because of that circumstance, because of 9/11 and all that year, that was, but man, like it's to lose like the way Toronto did. And the Toronto team was so likable. That was the other thing.
They were, yeah. And, Guerrero, who dedicated, his pretty much his whole career to just winning a World Series for his father, that, meant a lot to him. And he had an unbelievable series. That was the thing. Like so many guys just played ridiculously good. And not to mention the Dodgers pitcher that won 3 games. Blake Snell could have lost 3 games in that series.
I know. I was
could have
thinking
been the losing pitcher in 3 games.
And he actually didn't pitch that bad. It's not like he was getting roughed up like in the old days when Kershaw used to get banged around. But it was just such a, I don't know. Like I wonder if you're a Rays fan, if you're watching. I saw that clip of Blake Snell and Tyler Glasnow.
Oh, that had to be tough to watch. I saw that too. I didn't think that was good. It wasn't good for them to say that, right?
They're like, if you can't beat them, join them. And
hey, we were on the other side. You can't beat them, join them, man.
I remember that '92 team with the Pirates, and Jim Leland was the manager. And I remember a couple of years later, he was the manager of the Marlins when they won the World Series. When they basically bought their team. And I remember people saying, because I liked Leland when he was the manager of the Pirates, and people would say to me like, "Oh, you got to feel good for Jim Leland, right?" I'm like, "Hell no." Like I have
couldn't get it done here.
It bothered me that he was like, it's not my team he's winning with. He's winning with somebody else. Why do I,
Yeah.
So
there were, they wound up winning a World Series, but it had been, took 100 years for the Cubs to do it with Joe Madden. But before that, the whole Bartman thing, right? With Alou with a chance to catch the ball and probably the NLCS, I think.
Yep.
Might have sent him to World Series like that. That was gut wrenching on a lot of levels,
69, they had the big lead and they blew it late. And so they had, and no team here, it's funny. I saw a thing recently and I believe this. So the Red Sox, obviously we remember the Red Sox, they went years and years and it was the curse of the Bambino.
Sure.
They lose in 67 and then, Bill Buckner in 86 and then 2003 with, Aaron Boone hitting a home run, and
Buckner was crushing for them.
The game. I actually covered that game where Aaron Boone hit the home run, and I remember like all those years where people were just it was almost, there's something almost romantic about being a Red Sox fan, And then, of course, they won, and they became like totally the most annoying.
They became
people on
jerks
earth.
and more insufferable than Yankee fan.
But they just had this recent, and I wish I could remember who was talking about. So the ESPN had this recent documentary, and was called like Boston Believers or Believers Boston or whatever. And it was almost like hearkening back to the time before they were good. And I was thinking like, so they won the World Series in 2004. When they came, that's what the year they came back from 3-0 down against the Yankees and won the ALCS, and then won their first, and then they went on to win what, three more since then or whatever. And I just remember thinking like, okay, that's 2000. So people who were say 30 years old, they really don't remember what it's like to be a suffering Boston.
To be a suffering fan, yeah.
And it was like, and this documentary almost like tried to like recapture, like, no, you guys don't get that anymore. You had it, and it was cool, and everybody felt bad for you, but no more. You're one of the winners now.
Statute of limitations are over, man.
Right? Yeah. You're not. Who's the lovable loser? My team, the Pirates. We haven't won since 79.
Very much so.
Or Seattle Mariners never won it.
So, yeah.
Cleveland Indians. They're now the Guardians. It's been a bazillion years since they've won. So.
Thing is, I remember like when I was a kid, the Red Sox had some great team. They didn't win, but like Yastrzemski and Rice, right?
Freddie Lynn, yeah.
Freddie Lynn.
Dewey
those
Evans.
were those tremendous players in teams.
Right.
So,
yeah, they don't get that anymore. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Red Sox. You're now the evil empire. Sorry.
You're the evil empire. You're what's wrong with baseball. And by the way, isn't there something wrong with baseball?
So you're not falling into this like romantic, like baseball's back.
No? I mean, look, I love the game. I've always loved the game. I think I tweeted the other day it's my first love, and that was a tremendous series with great performances. And so at the moment, I wasn't caught up in like the fact that one team spent $500 million and the other team spent $300 million or something. But I do, you don't have to take much of a step back to say, what chance do the other guys have? I mean,
no, yeah, I know.
It's, you can't continue down this road now. And John Romano suggested this, like it's at some point there's going to be a work stoppage or labor dispute or whatever. I know this, the players will never agree to a salary cap. That's pretty obvious, right? He suggested, and I'm not totally against this, like, but maybe, you can realign divisions in such a way to where if you're the Rays, you're not in a division with the Yankees, Blue Jays, and Red Sox.
Right.
Huge revenue teams. If you look at the Central, you don't really have that, right? With Minnesota and
Detroit,
and
Cleveland, yeah.
Chicago White Sox and Cleveland. So maybe they can do something along those lines. I don't know.
But as far as like, I was just thinking the other day, the pitch clock, which I was skeptical would work.
Love it. It's
been great. It's been great Phenomenal. For baseball. It really has. And
so the bigger bases.
Yeah.
Can only throw over to the first base twice, brought the stolen base back in the game.
Right. And the three pitcher, the rule of like pitchers have to face at least three batters.
3 hitters,
in the middle of an inning or whatever.
Love it.
I think I like that.
I do.
But overall, I think there've been improvements, and the postseason has been fun to watch. But yeah, as somebody speaking who still follows the Pirates a little bit, it's really disappointing that we have no chance. Like by Memorial Day, we're out of it. And now you could blame it's part ownership problem, and the Pirates have not done a really good job building. And there's, I know Steve follows the Cincinnati Reds, and the Reds certainly had a good team they're not dissimilar in terms of market size and, fan base and all that. And the Reds managed to figure out how to be competitive. But
here's what I don't get about the Pirates though. And for years we've lived down here and it's been the stadium. Oh, if we could just get a stadium, revenue streams, the money would pour in. If we could just get the right stadium in the right location. There is not a more beautiful venue in Major League Baseball, unless it's San Francisco, for a stadium than Pittsburgh.
Absolutely.
And quite frankly, there's not a better sports town maybe in all of America.
It's a great sports town, and it's as much of a Steeler town as it is, and it is.
Oh,
it's when the Pirates are good, it's a good baseball town.
It's a good baseball town, and it had been for many, many years. I don't understand why I know they're not Chicago. I know they're not, Los Angeles or New York or even Boston from a like, population and all that. But still, like, they have sort of the things you need, or that certainly the Rays owners would love to be able to compete from a financial standpoint. Like I guess I don't understand why they're kind of lumped in with. It isn't a big market in terms of size, but they have everything you should need to sell out stadiums, to make a great game day experience. It's a great sports town. You just need to make the right moves, I think.
Well, and that's it, Rick. I'm glad you mentioned ownership, because I think this can tie into the Tampa Bay Rays a little bit.
Sure.
Is that I've seen what happened. People of Pittsburgh despise the owner in Pittsburgh, and because they feel like they haven't spent enough money or whatever.
Right.
But they despise him, and no matter how gorgeous that ballpark is, and it's gorgeous, and it's a fun night out, and there's nothing better than a nice summer night in a northern town where it's nice and cool in the evening.
Sure.
It's beautiful. It's great. And has a great view of downtown. But if the team doesn't win and you don't like the owner, you're not going to go.
You're not going to go.
And now I'm waiting to see what happens here in Tampa. We started in Tampa Bay. We started to see it. We could talk about this forever. I was a fan of the guy, but a lot of people weren't fans of the last ownership group, was Stu Sternberg. I'm curious about these new owners, Rick. Now, I don't know much about them. You probably know a little bit more about them than I do. But I'll tell them this. If you don't put a competitive team on the field and you don't look like you're in it to win it, the fans aren't going to show up. They just won't. I'm not 100% convinced they're going to show up anyway, because I don't know what kind of baseball market this truly is, because it's been a pretty good team for a long time and people haven't shown. But I'm really curious to see how this new ownership group handles things. What do you get any sense? Are there any concern? Obviously, for me, the biggest concern is 10 years from now, this team's not going to be here, but I don't know.
Well, and I think on the one hand, you have hope now that there's a group that is committed to, at least on paper or what they say, if you take them at their word, committed to keeping, baseball in the Tampa Bay area. So I think you start there and say, well, that's reason for optimism anyway. But they're a lot like the Glazers were when they owned the team, when they took over ownership. They don't have a stadium either. And we're right where we were for all those years, with Stuart Sternberg. The difference is, like, and you went through this with the Lightning for years until Jeffrey Vennick finally became the owner. And certainly Bill Davidson had, Stanley Cup and that sort of thing. But yeah, ownership matters. It may matter most of all in professional sports. It really may. And we don't know anything about these guys or what their expertise is or who they're going to retain or what's going to happen to sort of the brain trust over there that Sternberg built. And I know a lot of people, they were over Stewart. They were never going to build anything for him after a while. He reneged on deals. He didn't spend the money, yada, yada. But you know what he did do? He made sure they were competitive. He hired good people, and they weren't afraid to be bold, and they changed baseball. And all those people that they hired were good because they're now working for every other team, including the Los Angeles Dodgers with Andrew Friedman. So, it is not a slam dunk that just because you have new ownership that things are going to get better. And they could, in fact, get much worse. And I don't know how owners can come in, just to wrap up, I don't know how owners could come in, spend what market people would tell you was way more than the value of the franchise. They went value the franchise somewhere between 1.3 million. They spent 1.75, right?
Mm-hmm.
A billion. I'm sorry, billion with a B.
Right. Yeah.
And so if you overpaid for it to begin with, and you still have no earthly idea exactly where a stadium or if you can get one financed is going to go, yeah, I don't know if it gets better. It's not going to get better for a while, and in fact, it could get worse because I don't know who you kept, in that front office, or who will stay there, or who's going to leave eventually. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no guarantee that everything's going to run the way it did from a personnel standpoint or a valuation standpoint. I think actually things could get much worse. That's just
let me ask you a question. I'm going to put you on the spot, Rick, and if you can't answer it, just say you can't answer it.
Oh, okay.
And we can stop the podcast and we'll rewind it or whatever. let's say, I mean, they're going to build a stadium ideally somewhere in the Tampa Bay area. Probably everybody seems to think Hillsborough is the place to do it. I can't imagine this ownership group is going to pay for all of it out of their own pockets. They're going to want some money from the
They're going to want $1 billion.
Right.
I'll tell you that right up front. They're going to want $1 billion. So will the Buccaneers, and they're not.
Well, and that was my question, Rick. If this looks like it was starting to gain momentum, at some point, would the Glazers, do you think, say, hello, fellas, like we need either a stadium upgrade or we need a new stadium ourselves? Like, I can't imagine. I mean,
those conversations, I would tell you, are already happening, whether it's on the level that can be publicized or is really.
I mean, it just makes sense that the Glazers at some point,
they're already happening. No, they're happening.
We've been good tenants. We've done everything you've asked.
Yes, absolutely.
We've been out of all the teams in the Tampa area, we built a beautiful stadium that attracts Super Bowls, by the way, and college football national championships.
Right.
But at some point, I mean, that stadium was how old? Like 19?
It's 30 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's gorgeous as it is, and I think it's great. And the fans, of course, like, oh, we think it's great. Is it Jerry World? Is it SoFi? Is it,
No, it needs an upgrade. It absolutely needs an upgrade. If you're going to continue to attract things like the college football playoffs, which is coming here again, but especially Super Bowls, the sort of the life expectancies of these buildings are about 30 years. And so you're left with really one of two decisions. Do we renovate or do we rebuild? Do we start over? And to renovate, you're talking about a minimum of $1 billion with a B. I don't care what stadium, Everbank Stadium in Jacksonville, it doesn't matter. If you're renovating, it's $1 billion. If you're building a new one, it's $2 billion. Okay. And owners are not going to foot that bill. They're just not. And so I fully expect that, the Bucs at some point in short order will ask for and expect $1 billion from whether it's the community investment tax, state funds, whatever that is, from public money, $1 billion. And then maybe they'll make up some of the rest, whether that's several hundred million, half $1 billion. I don't know what that number is going to be, but they're going to ask for an enormous amount of money. And frankly, I think, and I don't know this, but I think that if you're the county commission or the city of Tampa, you're probably going to make the Bucs a priority over anyone else.
Why would you not?
Because the NFL, as much as any professional sports in this country, is king. It is absolute king.
And they're with all due respect, they're more bankable than anybody else.
No question. No question about it.
So I don't know, Rick. I just, my whole thing is, I'm wait and see. It's one of those things. Wait and see. I have high hopes. I love baseball. I'm looking forward to the next couple of years when it's back 10 minutes from my house in St. Pete. If it's up to me, it stays in Pinellas County at some point. But hopefully, in 10 years, you and I are doing a podcast and we're talking about the latest Rays series and maybe the Rays being in the World Series. So I just know there's a long way to go between now and then.
I think we found out one thing, and maybe this isn't fair because Steinbrenner Field is not a major league ballpark, but it is outdoors. And forever and ever, you heard people say, I hate being inside. And forever and ever, you heard people say, if only it were in Hillsborough. Can we put those two myths to rest now?
Oh, for sure. I mean, the out thing, to be fair, the outdoor thing is, I think, the most, was the biggest detriment. It was hot out there this year, man. I went to a
brutal
games. It
brutally
was hot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I don't think it's comfortable for fans. I know it probably took some things out of the players as well. And look, it's hot in a lot of places in the summertime, right? It's hot in Washington. It's hot in Baltimore.
St. Louis, yeah.
Yeah, St. Louis, Chicago, in a lot of places. But I don't know. There's something particularly difficult about the humidity and on top of the heat and the grind that those guys had to go through. I think it took a lot out of them, physically, mentally, whatever. They also played an unbalanced schedule, where you had a ton of home games early and then a ton of road games late, which is not the way, you can really manage that. I don't think people understand that even though they stay in 6-star hotels and they travel in, nice airplanes and things like that, being away from home is being away from home, Like it's still a grind on you.
Sure.
And so when you have that many games that you have to play, 19 out of 21 at one point or 22, I think that's an absurd amount of games to be, playing on the road. So,
Hey, before we go, I gotta ask if I can ask Steve a question. Is I as we're recording this, the Lightning are on a pretty good roll. They'd won 5 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not convinced though, Steve. Are they any good?
Yes.
You think so?
This is the best team they've had since they last won the Cup.
Are you serious? You really think that? Because they're not playing like that, even with the winning streak. I don't think.
Oh, I think if you look at their depth, look at their third and fourth lines.
It just feels like every game it's 1-1, like midway through the third.
Yeah,
which isn't a bad thing defensively, but in terms of offense, like
their top line hasn't. Cooch and Point haven't gotten going yet.
Yeah,
like they're not scoring
right
much. I mean, Cooch has 3 or 4 goals. Point's got 2, but really, they're not being effective. But look,
Hagel got off to a slow start too, right?
Yeah, and he's heating up now. But I love the Gord, Gergensons, Holmberg line. That's as close to Gord, Gaudreau, Coleman as you're going to find.
Right.
Like, and particularly when you get to the playoffs, if you don't have depth scoring.
Oh, for sure.
If you don't have a third line that can do damage, because the top lines get taken out by the best defenders, because the defenders are going to play more time, right? The top lines almost cancel each other out in playoff series.
Right, yeah.
But I just look, I mean, they need health. I mean, if Vazzy's not healthy, okay, forget it.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could say that about a lot of teams.
I don't think Hedman looks right. I wonder if there's something wrong, like if he's nicked up or dinged up or something. He hasn't played his best yet, but I mean, on paper, if you look at this roster, this is the deepest team they've had since 21.
My only concern, well, that's good to know because I wasn't sure. My concern with Hedman is at some point we're gonna hit the end.
Well, and with McDonough as well. I mean, at
sure.
some point, that's coming now. And maybe that's the start of it for Hedman. I don't know. I mean, he hasn't looked himself yet.
Right.
I really like J.J. Moser. I think he's really upped his game this year. And he talked about last year was his first chance to try to get in a playoff game. And he said, I had no idea how physical it was, basically.
Yeah.
And so he spent all offseason preparing for that and being better at that. And he's come out playing really well. I think you're going to see Max Crozier develop into a really good defenseman as a young guy. And then you add in the guys even like Dominic James and Charles Edward Distel.
Yeah, I like James, yeah.
James is, I mean, just flies off the screen when you watch him. And he's just, fresh out of college at this point. So the playoffs, take a lot. I mean, if you look last year, and if you really objectively watched all the Florida series in the playoffs, the Lightning were their toughest out.
Oh, for sure.
It only went 5 games, but it was every game was a 1-goal game.
Yeah, I know. And there was a pivotal moment. Like I still think they don't lose that one game where they
if they don't give up 2 goals in 11 seconds.
Yeah, it's a different story. All right, well, you got me thinking. Like I was a little nervous about how they've looked so far this season.
I mean, do you really think Cooch is going to look this way in Point all year?
No.
At some point, they're going to start figuring out. Hagel's starting to warm. Cirelli is leading your team in goals.
Right.
And looking great. I love the Gord line with Holmberg and Gergensons. You don't have Nick Paul back yet. Hopefully he's coming back.
Right.
They got a game Saturday at home or next week. So, I mean, Cooper said after this road trip, he's day to day. So hopefully Saturday or next week he's back.
And the good thing is I don't know that there's a team in the East that scares me right now. Like Florida doesn't. I mean, Florida's banged up, obviously, and it's going to be a much different team without Barkov and so forth. But and it's hard to three-peat. I mean, that it wears on you. Like I think we'll start to see the effects of the last 3 seasons wear on.
Well,
the
and for them, it would be a 4-peat just getting to the
just
final.
to get back, yeah. which is wrong. But the best team in the division's Montreal. I'm not sold on Montreal.
Yeah, Montreal and Detroit leading the division right now.
Yeah,
Look,
that's not going to stay.
The East is there's a lot of parity in the East.
Right.
The West is very top heavy, and then the bad teams are bad.
Right. Yeah.
The bottom teams in the West are, you're going to see high point totals above the top teams in the West and low the East is kind of a hodgepodge. Like everyone's within a few points right now. I mean, it's early still, but
right.
And that'll shake out
You
some,
gotta be
but,
feeling better.
you know.
So I have one more question. This one's
Sure.
for Stroud. And then you too, Steve. On January 5th, will Mike Norvell be the head coach of Florida State?
Ooh.
Yes.
Probably, because I think the buyout plus he'll probably win enough games. Look, they're not going to have a good season. There's no question about that. I don't know. I think he probably gets another year.
What if they go against Florida? They get drilled by Florida. At the end of the season.
Yeah,
like badly. Like if that game goes like 40-6.
So here's the thing with Florida State. Is the buyouts, whatever, 50 million, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And they really don't have the cash for that. And meanwhile, how many programs are looking for a coach already?
a whole bunch.
Like,
Oh yeah.
what are you getting?
Yeah, but like a lot of if you're Florida State, like I'm not sure I would I'm not sure that James Franklin wouldn't be a bad spot for him.
Man, no, I don't think that would be at all. But
No,
what's
he may
that going to
not.
cost you? And
Right.
and know that, the hard part is when all these schools are making changes now. If you're going to wait till the end of the year, you may not have James Franklin available.
Well, I'm telling you what, obviously I follow Penn State I'm not sure Penn State's going to get at this point. Because I thought it was going to be Matt Rule, and no, he re-signs with Nebraska, and I thought it was going to be the guy from Indiana.
Signetti, yep.
Yeah, and he signed a big deal. So unless they go after like an assistant like Hartline from Ohio State or the guy from Louisville, I don't know. But so if they had the money though, what do you think, Rick? If they had the money, would Norvell come back? Like, do you still believe in Norvell?
No, I personally don't. But I at some point, college football is going to have to get away from these buyouts, and I think more and more it's becoming more like the NFL. Players are going to run this sport, and they already kind of are in the sense that I think the reason you have so many coaching changes is they're afraid of losing their players. Like you better get a guy in there that's going to retain the guys that are good and is going to be able to recruit the guys, if you have to fire your coach. It's becoming more of a players league than it ever was. College football was always about the coaches, and you could name them, they were there for 20, 30 years. And now I think with NIL, with the transfer portal, you got to have success, and you got to have, they've got to have success, and and more than anything, you got to have money. And it's hard to probably raise money if your coach is not winning, so winning now it was always important, but now it's the patience is going to be much, much more like the NFL than it was in college football.
I think Penn State started the trend here. I think if they don't fire James Franklin, I don't know if a lot of I don't know if Napier's gets fired at Florida. I don't know if Brian Kelly gets fired at LSU. I don't know if who else is Hugh Freeze. Like I think when teams looked around and said, if Penn State can fire James Franklin, a guy who was, one interception away from making the college national championship game last year, and wins 10 games every year.
Mike Norvell went undefeated a couple years ago,
right?
With the right quarterback,
Here's what I want to know: how come when we got let go at WDAE, we didn't have a $30 million buyout?
You didn't negotiate a 3-month buyout.
What did we get? Who signed us to that contract? Well,
somebody with a better agent would have done that. Yeah.
I signed the first one. I didn't sign the next one or two because I was given my papers before then.
What did we get? Yeah, what did we all get? 6 weeks? 5 weeks? I don't understand how I signed a 3-year deal.
It was a 3-month severance, I believe.
It was we signed a 3-year deal, and we were 3 months into a 3-year deal when we got let go. And we got Bucs. That's all I know. How does that work?
You're in the wrong industry.
Yeah. Not sure things have gotten much better since we left in terms of contracts go, but I don't know. That remains to be seen. I never had a contract at the Tampa Bay Times. I'm still there, man.
That's the way to do it.
Maybe it's right to work ends up better for you in the long run. I don't know.
Yeah.
because but yeah, college football is a mess, and and a lot of people will blame. Well, you start paying players, and then they deserve it. There's plenty of money for everybody. I don't get the buyouts. I don't think you're going to see as much as that anymore. I'm not even sure the college football playoff system is great.
You mean like that many teams and how they do it and all that?
Yeah, I was thinking about this the other day, and I'm I think it'd be great. Don't get me wrong. If USF, even though they lost the other day, it was a big loss to Memphis, but I still think they may control their own destiny. I'm not really sure about that. But they could get in a conference championship game and maybe be that, that non-Power 5 school that makes it in the college football playoffs. But are we convinced that a 2-loss South Florida team that did manage to beat Boise and now not so good Florida, and it got blown out by Miami? Are we sure they're deserving of one of the top?
Right? Are they better than like a 3-loss Tennessee team or
even there might be a 2-loss Big 12 team? I don't know. I don't know who that other team's going to be, but there's going to be a team from a major conference that's better than the American,
right?
That's not going to be in it. So are we really trying to get the top 16 teams, or are we just trying to spread
I'm
the
one
wealth?
of the few people out there who thought that like the old BCS we picked 2 teams.
You were fine with that. Yeah.
I was fine with that now, but I understand why. I mean, there was too much money to be made, and there were too many occasions where there was a team that was deserving to go, and they were the 3rd best team in the country or the 4th.
How about when
team.
sports writers decided it?
Oh yeah, that's what I thought. It was great.
You'd have a split national champion. It'd be like the AP and the UPI couldn't agree. Right?
That's right. They had the coaches, and that's what there was the famous story where with the one year where Texas was named national champ because Texas had beaten Oklahoma, and I think that Richard Nixon declared Texas the national champion, even though Penn State was undefeated that year. Right. And it was funny because they asked Joe Paterno about it later. He says, "I don't understand how Richard Nixon didn't know anything about Watergate, but he knows so much about college football."
Great line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, it was just it's a weird. If you'd have told me 2 years ago that Mike Norvell might be on a hot seat, I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And
yeah, no, it happens fast, and I think it happens because you need players, and I don't think you're going to keep players if you lose. They're going to get snatched up. They're going to go somewhere else. I mean, some of these guys are playing for 3 different teams,
right,
during their careers. We got guys on the Bucs that played for 3 different teams.
Did you know? I used to. You probably remember this growing up, Rick. I remember when my kids played baseball, and they play like in these summer leagues or like in a fall league.
Oh, yeah.
Were like loosely high school teams, but they weren't really high school teams.
Sure.
You weren't supposed to be playing high school ball then. But
right.
There would be like one kid who showed up and played for everybody. I think he was one of those kids that had like 12 hats in his in his room. They're like, "Hey, we need St. Pete Catholic team needs you." Let him put on a St. Pete Catholic hat.
Oh yeah.
They were just mercenaries, and that's
you're just a bandit.
You might have been one of those guys that played.
No.
Nobody called you up and say, "Hey, Stroud, we need a second baseman on Tuesday."
No. I never played softball. I kind of regret not playing in the beer leagues after.
No, I mean in baseball, like in Legion ball.
No, in baseball, it was because I had to. We had one team in St. Pete, and my dad coached it, and it was St. Pete, post 14, and then. It wasn't like I had an option to go to Gulfport and play with Dave Anderson or something like that. There were 2 teams in St. Pete.
Was that post 7? Was that post 7 over there?
Yeah, 125.
125. There you go. That sounds right.
Yeah, Gulfport 125. Dave Anderson, one-time Dodger shortstop, and a bunch of other guys that were on that team. But it was. Now winter baseball was a little different. Like you could play in a winter league and maybe bounce around from team to team, but. Typically it was, there were 2 or 3 different leagues a year. You'd have your high school team, your winter ball team, and then your summer league team, perhaps Legion ball, but that was about it. You're already playing for 3 teams, so it didn't really matter. But the guys that couldn't make one Legion team could go to another one. Like you could play for Gulfport if you couldn't play for St. Pete, that sort of thing. But no, there wasn't too many mercenaries, unless you got into a tournament and, you were supposed to be 18 by a certain age or not more than 19 by a certain age and get into a tournament and, some team from Puerto Rico or whatever show up, and he'd swear that the guy was 35 years old and he coached third base the whole time, and then he pinch hit and got a base hit and beat us in the Southeastern
next thing
Regional.
he comes off the field and he got four.
Swear to God, the guy
he got three kids,
4 kids. Yeah, the guy
16, ages 16 and 14. Say, Daddy.
I watched a guy coach third base, LaGrange, Georgia. True story. Playing Puerto Rico for the championship and to go to the national tournament. And this guy had coached third base the entire tournament. Like never swung a bat, never did anything. He looked like he was 30 years old until we got into the last of the 10th inning where had a 1-run lead and they had second and third with 2 out. This dude didn't even have his spikes on. Goes into the dugout, puts on his shoes, grabs a bat, singles in 2 runs, game over. They're going to the national championship. Wait a minute. And I swear to God, his name was Jose Pagan. Not
Pagan.
that Jose Pagan, but
he was probably 50 years old, not 30.
He could have been 50. Yeah. It was crazy. But so show your birth certificates. But yeah, it was, there's a lot of stuff weird stuff like that would happen. The interesting thing, I played briefly. Did you ever play what they would call semi-pro, but nobody was really getting paid?
Yeah, I grew up in Pittsburgh and I saw it. I never played it, but I saw it.
That was
newspaper league there.
Did that crazy after Arkansas State for about 4 games, I think, and went to Lakeland one day and we were playing. We had a bunch of guys. I had a guy from college came down with me from Arkansas State, and we were playing in Lakeland, and it turned into a brawl. Like there was actual I feared for my life. I'm going to get stabbed I'm going to get shivved any minute here. And there were dudes that no rules baseball. You know what I mean? Like force play at second base, just come in there, barrel into somebody. Right. It was nuts. It was like, where did you guys play again?
I played in a men's softball league in St. Pete. It was usually pretty laid back. I played a lot of men's softball in my life, but it was pretty laid back. But we picked up a guy from a team one time who was tired of playing with another team. And 3 games in, we played that team. So it was a big rivalry for this guy. Oh, we got to win this game for Rick. I think his name was Rick. Yeah. And so there was some trash talking going on, and somebody broke up a double play. Again, men's softball, right? Plays. So at one point, I'm playing short. This other guy's playing second. He goes, "Hey, man, if we throw down here, you got my back, right?" And I'm like, "Absolutely not. No." He's like, "What?" I go, "I got to go to work tomorrow, man." No. I'm not fighting anybody. Are you kidding me? First off, I can't beat up anybody, but no.
Who are you?
I can't have a black eye. I'm going to Bucs practice tomorrow. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, I was fortunate. I never saw anybody get really hit or hurt in one of those bench clearing brawls or anything like that. But
what's scary about it is, I thought about it with this softball, and it's probably the same thing with you and this baseball thing. If something breaks out, there is nobody here to stop this.
Oh no.
There's no security. There's no cops.
No police. There's no security. Yeah.
There's not it's going to be a free for all.
I do remember we were playing in Tampa, a Legion game, and we won, and we were going to the state tournament, and they weren't real happy about it. And we were at Lowry Park, which is known for the zoo, right? But there was a baseball field over there.
Oh, it was a zoo, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and so, but it got to be really ruckus and a lot of bench jockeying going back and forth, and the fans going at it. But the biggest thing was, and I think Lenny Faedo, one of the Faedos played on that team. There was a close play at third. It didn't go their way, and the people were all. And that day they were after the umpires, not so much the team they were getting beat by, which was us, but they were all over the umpires. And I remember the Tampa police came and had to escort these guys out of the ball field because they were going to be under attack. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Youth league. Yeah, youth league stories, man. What can you do? All right, we're good with time, right?
Yep.
Okay. Yep. Wrap it up. All right, well, this is great, Tommy. Of course, you have your own podcast to take care of. Where can people listen to that? And, of course, they can follow you and your newsletter on poynter.org.
Yeah, it's Poynter Report Podcast. Go to YouTube or Spotify or all the places you listen to Sports Day Tampa Bay. You can find us there, and check out the newsletter. Go to poynter.org, poynter.org. Look for the Poynter Report. Daily newsletter about the media. You'll love it. Talk about sports a little bit. Yeah. So thanks for having me again. It's been fun.
Great talking to you back to back. Always a pleasure. Your open invitation is still available. and hope to talk to you soon. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.
All right, the Bucs will be back at practice. We'll get some more injury updates, have a chance to talk to the coaches, of course, open locker room, and Josh Grizzard will speak to us as well, the offensive coordinator of the Buccaneers. Appreciate you guys listening. As always, get on down to Breitling Boutique International Plaza Mall. That's where you're going to find the NFL collection, 32 team watches waiting for you as supplies last, as well as watches for women, sports watches, and men as well. It is Breitling Boutique International Plaza. Make sure you let them know that you heard about it right here on Sports Day Tampa Bay. My thanks to Tom Jones. For Steve Burstick, I'm Rick Stroud, the Tampa Bay Times. Have a great day, everybody.